Welcome back. So, we are here for the 5 pillar business audit that changed everything. Whenever I meet with new clients, I always sit there with them and I take inventory of where they're at. What I mean by that is I think about it holistically because a lot of the time we sit there and we think, oh, we're a financial advisor. That's great. But if the person has a divorce, that's kind of an issue. If the person's parents pass away, that's something that you're going to think about. Like a lot of our life, we try to compartmentalize, but the truth is, it's a holistic piece and it's constantly working together, and there's many different sides. So, whenever you get in working with different clients and working with different things, you want to understand their why. You want to know what pushes them. So, as I'm always meeting with new clients, I'm always taking them through our Edwards consulting process. And we start off with the 5 year vision, where they see themselves, where the 1 year vision, where they want to go, their mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And the reason I do this is so that we can at least get to the bottom of what it is they're looking for. And we might uncover certain things that they never even thought about for their business. For example, I've had different clients who sometimes think their business is something that they want to build a legacy for. And then some of them just turn out to be cash flow businesses. That's a very different business model. That is a very, very different business model. So you need to realize who you're talking with and what these people want to create. Because if we don't have our intention and where we want to go, then we can't take the steps to get there. So as we're going through this, the big thing that I'm really unlocking here, like if we're going to go a step lower, but below the 5 pillars, and I open you to ask yourself about this audit as you're listening to this, and you could start to think about this, is we start off with the big North Star. The big North Star is this principle of the idea that when we shoot for the moon, we're going to land on the stars, meaning that you want to set a 5 year goal for yourself, 5 year vision that captivates you, that excites you. And as I'm going through this episode, you might want to pause throughout to take time to take notes for this. Because if you could take notes on this, you're going to get a lot of clarity on what you want to do. Like, for example, let's say someone is working a construction job and their goal is to travel the world in 5 years. Then they should probably figure out a way to make money online or doing something a little bit different than a job where they have to be on site every single time. These are just little things where you start to think about it. Oh, that's interesting. Or maybe they're a business owner and they want to travel a lot, but they run a landscaping business. Great. You're going to have to find a manager and fire yourself. That can be stressful. That can be scary, but that's the truth. That's the reality of what we're building. And you need to start to realize that everyone you work with, everything you do, is constantly moving you closer or away from your goals. So I want you guys to start to think about this as we're going through this. What is my 5 year vision? If you called me in 5 years, what is that going to look like? Income wise, family wise, friend wise, travel wise, investment wise, psychology wise, mental health, physical health? How are you showing up? What do you look like? How do you feel? Where are you living? And you start to get really, really descriptive in this, and you want to get deep. You want to get really deep. Like, I don't want a house. I want a 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom house in this location specifically. Get as specific as possible. As soon as you're done with that, you want to spend a good amount of time on that, asking yourself deeper and deeper questions. And you might spend 15 to 30 minutes on this. And this is what we do with every business client. And then we move to, what's that 1 year vision for ourselves? What do we see for ourselves in 1 year? What do we want to accomplish? And you take those goals from that 5 years. So some of those might be, if a 5 year vision is to run a marathon, maybe a 1 year goal would be to run a 15K, which is 9 miles. Maybe it's run a half marathon. Maybe it's run a 5K. It can be whatever you want it to be, but it's something towards that goal. Maybe in the goal is to travel to 20 different countries. Maybe you want to travel to 2 in the first year. And that's how you have that breakdown. So you start off with your big, audacious, hairy goal, and then you break it down so it becomes manageable. Like if I told you go run a marathon, and you're talking to someone, like the reason I'm comfortable sharing all this is because I've created a podcast where I've done over 250 episodes interviewing the founder of Reebok and billionaire Jeff Hoffman. I'd ran 2 marathons, traveled to 27 different countries, and I do one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I share all this because back in 2019, I didn't have any of this. And this formula got me there. The intentionality got me there. And it set a new standard for my life and for the people around me, their life as well. The next thing we're going to dive into is the 5 pillars, which are holistically around you. This is going to be mental health, physical health, community service philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And as we're going through these pillars, you are going to start to ask yourself, where am I on a 1 to 10? What does my mental health look like today? Is it only for today, or what can be better? You know what I mean? And then you start to ask yourself, what is a 10? What can that 10 be? And I'll give you a little tip for mental health. Tony Robbins speaks about it. He talks about a good day and a bad day and defining those. I'm going to let you know, unlocking a lot of the things you want to accomplish is all about defining words. So what's your definition of a bad day? And a lot of people are like, well, if I don't close a deal, that's great. What's your definition of what else? Like, do you close a deal every day? Most days I do. Okay, cool. What would be a harder definition of a bad day? Like, what would be a definition of a bad day that it happens so infrequently? And the one that Tony talks about and the one I've kind of identified myself with is when someone close to you passes away. And this causes you to reframe your mindset and stop you from constantly sharing bad and constantly putting that burden on others. Then you start to sit there and think, what is my definition of a good day? And some would say a good day is when all of my goals are met. How often are all your goals met? Usually there's a problem in the way. Not too often. Okay, well, let's try to make a good day as easy as possible. So what would be as easy as possible for you to be a good day? And people are sitting there and they're pondering it. And you start to realize that a good day would be waking up. A good day is just being alive and having another chance. And it gives you so much clarity on like what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. So that's for mental health. You want to define where you're at, and then you want to define what a 10 might look like. The second thing you want to do is figure out your physical health. Now, this isn't always like I run 100 miles, so it's to you. This is no comparison, no other people involvement, just you. It's just your comparison to yourself. And it's where do you think you're at today? How do you think you can improve? And when I do this with people, some people don't work out at all. And to get them started working out, you want to know what I recommend? Just wear workout shoes. Okay. And then what I recommend is, why don't you go to the gym for 5 minutes a day? Why would I drive 10 minutes to stand there for 5 minutes? I don't know. Because once you're in the gym, you'll do something. The point is that you got to break these down into really manageable steps and not be so hard on yourself. And not be so, I never do this or I always do that. Because that's not how it's going to work. It's going to build in a slowly paced way. As we're going through this, you're going to start to define what great physical health looks like to you. What is that 10 for you? And as I mentioned before earlier in this video, you can always pause if you're not sure what's going on. You can pause if you need to take more time for yourself if you want, because I really recommend a pen and paper, because with you applying this, you're going to start to really learn. The third thing is community service. So you might throw up a 0 for this on a 1 to 10. You might not show up in community service, but then you think to yourself, what am I passionate about? What are things that I even care about? Some people care about rehabilitation. Some people care about financial literacy. Some people care about food impoverishment. Some people care about housing. What is it that you care about? What is it that you're passionate about? And if you still go, I don't know, sit there and start to think about it. Because as you're building your legacy, as you're building who you want to become, you need to understand who you are. And you need to start to realize what is community service and how do you show up for your community. The fourth pillar is spirituality. And when you sit there, you're going to want to figure out, what is this all about? Where do I have a mentor in this area? Do I have a mentor? Do I have an association? So for me, like one of the things I do is I have a rabbi that I meet with or try to meet with on a weekly cadence. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And what I try to do there is it made me realize that I need to, the more I meet with him, the more connected I am as I start to think about it. And it's something where I don't always have to super maintain it, but I just think about the meetings that we have. So you start to realize like, What is it that you can do that would be an easy hack for you to start to get a better experience for yourself? And you want to start to line up that 10. Then the final pillar is relationships. And this might be relationships with your family, friends, parents, personal relationships, business relationships. And you want to figure out for you what is the best way to get those results. So for me, it was always figure out who those relationships that are important to me and then how do I optimize for that time. Example one, I go to Muay Thai from, one second, I go to Muay Thai from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I thought to myself, it's a 15-minute drive. What can I do during that time? So during that drive, I actually call my dad or sometimes my mom because it's an easy way to auto connect. I'm not really going to learn anything I could learn something on a YouTube video, but not too much. But it's just an easy, how do you stay connected to people? So you start to realize that that's a way to get more efficient time because we start to sit there and take inventory of like, where's our time wasted? Where's our time optimized? And I realized that much of our time is very misused. And that can only, the more awareness you have with that, the more that will help you with relationships. So like an easy level is there's levels of time, right? So it's the level one is reacting, where you're getting social media messages, texting, inbound, you're on everyone else's time. The second level is managing, where you're scheduling, checking in on people, making sure people are going to show up, et cetera, et cetera. The third level is building. This is where you're prospecting, looking for new people, looking for new systems. And the fourth is leveraging. That's where you're starting to outsource, think about different things, think about ways to optimize. So for example, like one of the things is like I'm going to a city for a couple weeks. And how am I going to get to see all of my friends at one time? I'll invite them to experience that I'm probably going to do so that they can all come at the same time and I don't have to meet with them one-on-one. It's a way to get leverage and it's a fun time. So once you start thinking about that, you think about how do we connect all the dots here? How do we keep the people connected? And how do we make it a much easier process opposed to our other process that might be unintentional, unlooking forward to what we're doing. So I want you guys to keep taking inventory of where you're at. And then you're going to start to realize something as you're going through these pillars and these ideas and these things of your vision of where you want to be with all the pillars of where you're at today and then what a 10 might look like in those different areas. You're going to start to see disparities. You're going to start to see places where you're just not aligned and you're pretty off. And that would be a time to, one, maybe get a coach, maybe get someone to help, get some mentor in that area. Or you could really set that as a goal for yourself. Set that as a direction you want to go for yourself. And that is where you come up with the 3 to 5 goals for the 12 weeks, where you want to dive in on those goals and see what it is you're going to accomplish. And then you're going to come up with weekly goals. So you're going to break down the goals further. And the cool thing, the best part about all this is that you have a huge North Star, big goals, and you have weekly action steps to get there. And then the final piece that you're missing is the accountability. So you have to find someone in your life who will be accountable, who will help you with this. And that's something that we do at Edwards Consulting. We provide the accountability, we provide the perspective, we provide the help with all of this. However, you just need someone to hold you seriously accountable. And that's not like, hey, how's it going? Not some hard love. Like, you need someone who's like, hey, you said you were going to do this, how's it going? And that accountability is the key that's missed a majority of the time for most of us. So I want you guys to realize that the accountability is going to be the most important thing. It's going to put you in the proper perspective. It's going to help you, and it'll bring it all together. So this episode, we talked about the business audit, how to audit your life, how to audit your success, and how to create the life of your dreams, where we talked about a 5-year vision, a 1-year vision. We talked about the 5 pillars of mental health, physical health, community service, spirituality, relationships, and then what you're supposed to do with those areas in a 10, and then how to figure out your 3 to 5 12-week goals, and then your goals of the week. And we threw in some nuggets along the way, and I hope you gained incredible value from this. So thank you.